everybody. For this video, we will be talking about the First Wives Club. So I hope you enjoy. Hello everybody, I am SHEAHDUMB 17, and for this video, I will be talking about the First Wives Club. Now, I'm just gonna say right now, I love this movie. It's so entertaining. We're just gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it, and yeah. So first we're gonna do the movie description. I can't remember if it's exactly what, the movie description was in there, or if I changed it a little bit, just so it can be a little more ominous or whatever. But yeah. Reunited by the death of a college friend, 3 divorced women seek revenge on the husbands who left them for a younger woman. And now we're gonna get into the movie. So get your popcorn or get your food. I don't know, get your food. Just chill, relax, and listen to me talk about this movie. Okay, let's begin. So this movie takes place in 1989. We first see Annie, Elise, and Brenda, and these women are getting ready for their college graduation. So then we see another woman come in, and her name is Cynthia, with the camera. She sets it up. They take like sips of like a drink because they're celebrating. They huddle into the camera, and while they're huddling, about to take the picture, they all promise to each other that they are never, ever gonna stop being friends. So that's the beginning of the movie, just like they're in college. Fast forward, and it's some years later, we see Cynthia. She is crying. She's looking at a newspaper of her ex-husband and his new wife, younger wife. While she's sitting there crying, she looks at the old picture of all of them that they took, at the college graduation. So she's like, sad, and she's like, oh, oh. Then we see her get up, and she sees like the nanny that's there. She tells her to take the day off, but before you go, here is a necklace that you can keep and 3 letters. Please send this out. The lady, she leaves, and it's just Cynthia. We see Cynthia going out of her house. She's at a balcony. She's looking down, and she jumps. She goes over. So yeah, that happens. And I was just like, huh? I was so shocked. I'm gonna be honest. Like, people get depressed, people get sad, but I just wasn't expecting her to do that. So I was like, okay, this is how this is gonna start. All right. So then we see Annie. She walks into her house, and we hear her daughter. Her daughter starts talking to her, and she's like, oh, where were you? Like, interrogating her. And she's like, oh, you're helping that man. And we're like, what man? What man? And it's her father. So we find out in this scene that Annie and her husband, Aaron, are separated at this point, but they're doing, therapy and stuff to get better. But the daughter, Chris, she's not a big fan of her dad. And then we see Elise. When you first hear it, it's like all seductive and stuff. Like she's talking to someone. You're like, what's going on? And then it's just her asking the doctor if they can put lip injections in her mouth. It was like, what's about to happen? Like, I grabbed my remote real quick. I was like, but no, it was just a misleading situation. So anyway, yeah. So Elise talking to her doctor, she's like, I need lip injections. The doctor's like, no, we've done this too much. You need to calm down. And then he brings up, I know that you and your husband, Bill, separated, but this is not a good coping mechanism. And she's just like, look, I don't care about that. I need my lip injections. So then we see Brenda, and Brenda is on the phone, and she's talking to people about a bar mitzvah for her son, and she's just being a stay-at-home mom. They all find out at the same time, different places, but they all find out that Cynthia did what she did, and now that she's gone. So they're upset. It's the day of Cynthia's funeral, and they all go. While they're there, they see that the ex-husband shows up with his new wife to Cynthia's funeral. Anyway, and he's being disgusting. Let me talk about that. Disgusting, disrespectful to be doing what he did with his new wife in front of the woman that you were married to for years. You're so disrespectful, and it really angered me. Punched in the face. I don't know if no one saw it or anything, but punched in the face, because that is so disrespectful. You have to watch the movie. Watch the movie because it's so disrespectful. Anyway. After like the funeral was kind of settling down, I guess, we see Annie, Elise, and Brenda. They catch up during the funeral, and they're like, you know, this is really sad that we had to catch up this way, but I'm happy to see you. And they all make a decision like we should hang out after the funeral just to talk more. The funeral ends and they go to a restaurant and they begin to talk. So they start talking about Cynthia and their past memories, and they all confess about their relationship status. Brenda and Elise are talking about how, you know, they're separated from their ex-husbands, and Annie is trying to put on this thing, oh yeah, we're together, we're happy, but like it comes out that no, they're separated and they're trying to work on it, I guess. They're drinking, so things get a lot. And then they start talking about like Elise and her plastic surgery, and she starts talking about how, like, you know, she has to stay young so she can still get roles, and how they are struggling with being broken up by their, you know, ex-husbands, and how it hurts them that happened to them. So then we see Annie. She goes to her therapist. She's talking about feelings, she's talking about her confidence, you know, she's saying sorry, all this stuff. And then the therapist is like, hit me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, what too? She's like, what? And the therapist is like, hit me, just hit me. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't think this is a good idea. But she kept pushing Annie, and she does. And then the girl, the therapist, is like, oh, like she's shocked that she hit her. If you keep asking me, you're like, hit me. If you giving me something to hit you with, and you're like, hit me, I'm be like, okay, I guess I'll hit. Like, don't get shocked that I hit you. That makes no sense. Anyway, after this situation, Annie gets a call from her ex Aaron, and he asks her to like go to the restaurant so they can eat and everything. So Annie, she's excited. She gets dressed. She has this black dress. She was looking good. I was like, I'm jealous. She goes to the restaurant. She sees Aaron. They start dancing. It's all romantic and stuff. Later on that night, we see Annie and Aaron, and they're in a hotel. And Aaron is in a robe, and Annie's like, and you know, she's clothed, but I was like, They're at the hotel, they're kissing. It looks like everything is going to plan. You know, Annie is so happy. She's like, oh my gosh, we can be together again, and we can work on this stuff, and all blah, 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 blah. But then Aaron looks at her, and he's like, I want a divorce. So she's shocked, and I was shocked too. And I'm, well, not shocked, but also confused. Because how are you going to be kissing on somebody and doing what you did and then be like, oh, but I want a divorce? Disgusting behavior. Anyway, so Annie's confused. Annie's upset, like any person would be in the situation. And then it gets worse. Because remember the therapist that I just brought up? The therapist walks in and she's like, Aaron? And turns out Aaron and the therapist, Dr. Leslie, have been messing around. So Annie is rightfully upset. She's like, oh, we were supposed to work this out. We're separated, but we're still, working on stuff. What do you mean? So she's upset. She starts throwing things. She starts yelling. And this girl, the therapist, is like, oh, let her be upset. It's okay. Calm down, Annie. You telling me to calm down. Anyway, so she, the audacity. The audacity. Anyway, so she's being annoying. She was annoying me the entire scene. And Annie's like, you know what? I'm done. She was yelling at both of them because they deserve it. And she was like, calm down. You tell me to calm down, you know? But eventually she storms out of the room and she goes to an elevator and she's upset. She's crying and she's upset. Like anybody would be in that situation. Like, what? Anyway. We then see Elise. And she is meeting up with her lawyer so that they can go meet up with her ex-husband and his lawyer. And while they're there, her ex-husband is Bill. He's demanding alimony and most of her stuff, like just being greedy and messy and everything. And he thinks he owns everything. I don't know, because Elise, it's proven in the movie that Elise gave him all of this stuff. Like without her, he wouldn't be in that position that he was in. So it's just crazy that he is demanding all this stuff. And then after this, she's already upset about that. But then she goes to meet up with the producer. So she's talking to him. She's so excited, all this stuff. But then he wants her to play the mother. And, you know, in this movie, she's very insecure with her looks and she still wants to be young. So casting her as the mother triggers her. Also, the mother's not going to be like glamorous or anything. Like it's going to be no makeup, everything, which she doesn't do. So she's upset. And because of both of those situations, she goes to the bar and drinks her pain away. And bothers the bartender, which was hilarious. But he's just like, maybe you should stop drinking right now. So you then see Brenda, and she is she's shopping with her friend, and they walk into the store, and while she's at the store, she's looking at stuff, and she sees her ex-husband, Morty. So she's triggered. She goes up to Morty. They start fighting and stuff, and then the new girlfriend comes out, Shelly. So Shelly comes out, and she is so rude to Brenda. Like, she calls her ugly, I'm pretty sure, and I think she makes a comment about her weight. I can't remember exactly, but she was rude. I just remember her being very rude. And it hurts Brenda's feelings, you know, because she still has feelings. Morty and Shelly leaves, and Morty doesn't even say anything. Like, they leave, and Brenda's upset. So after this situation, she, I guess, says bye to her friend, and then she goes and eats dinner by herself because her son was going to stay with Morty. She's eating dinner by herself, and it's sad. So yeah, once they go home, all of them receive the letter from Cynthia, and they're reading it, and then they all come together and talk. So they start venting about how angry they are about, you know, what their ex-husbands did to them and how they want revenge. And they make a plan to get revenge. So they do like I guess like a symbol or whatever, where all of them take off the rings. They drop it in a wine glass and they say, time to start a new thing. So they clink and they, you know, drink it, which, ooh. Annie had all the rings in there, and I'm like, girl, not only was it just your ring, which is nasty, but there was the other two rings, and you were drinking. Oh, that's not, but okay. But before they can start getting their justice, they need some help. So Annie, Elise, and Brenda go to a gay bar to, you know, talk to Annie's daughter, whose name is Chris. So they get to the bar. Annie finds Chris and she asks her, like, hey, can you please help me get revenge on your father, but also these other two men for my friend? And, you know, Chris is absolutely down for it because she doesn't like her father. So she's like, yes. So we then see Brenda and Annie, and they're at the bar mitzvah for Brenda's son. So they're at the bar mitzvah, everything is okay, until Morty shows up with Shelly to the bar mitzvah. So Brenda is very upset and hurt that he did that to her. The bar mitzvah ends, and then we see them walking out with Uncle Kyle, or Uncle Kyle, I don't know, but one of the uncles. So the the uncle is talking to Brenda and Annie, and he's like, you know, it's crazy that Morty's acting this way because without us, he wouldn't even be in this situation. And in this conversation, we find out that Morty was doing some illegal stuff. He is kind of like a criminal. So they got dirt on Morty. So they're like, this is great for us. Then we see Elise, and Elise gets her revenge by cleaning out Bill's office, his home, and like a rental house, like an extra house that they have. You know, she's getting her revenge. We then see Brenda and Annie go visit Elise at her house, and they see all this stuff there. Elise doesn't know what she's gonna do with all of this stuff, and while they're talking, Elise brings up the fact that she has like a vacant place for stuff. So they're like, ooh, let's go check it out. So they go there, and there's a montage of them decorating it, and then it's like, oh, this is where we're gonna go to meet. And then we see Bill's Lamborghini getting repossessed, and that was from Elise. So he calls Elise and he's like, oh, you're gonna pay for this, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh my gosh, really? Oh, wow, that's crazy. Oh, okay, bye. And then they hang up. The women come back together, and they're trying to figure out how to get Morty's workbook so they can, you know, blackmail him and stuff. So they realize that they need help from this woman, and her name is Gunelia Gerson. Anyway, she's rich, and she's very prominent in, I guess, like fashion, or she's just rich. So a lot of people know her. So they asked her to invite Shelly to lunch so that she can like convince Shelly to get Eduardo, who is Brenda's friend, to decorate the house so they can go in and like find the books. It works out as planned. Gunelia gives the number to Shelly. Shelly calls Eduardo, and they set that up. Eduardo show up at Shelly and Marty's place, and he tells them like, hey, you have to leave so I can do my process. So they leave, and then the girls come in. They start running and start looking for the workbooks, and excuse me. And eventually they finally find it after a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff. It was just like a chase and everything. But then Gunelia calls, and she's like, hey, like they're coming back up. So they were supposed to be out for an hour, but Shelly wanted to come back in to see, you know, what's gonna happen, blah, blah, blah. That's when Annie starts to panic. Brenda and Elise are trying to calm her down, so they slap her, and she like stops panicking. They can't go downstairs because the door to the house, or like the apartment building, whatever they're in, is right there. So if they walk that way, they're gonna be seen by Shelly and Morty. So they go to the like an area, I guess a balcony area, I'm not sure. And they go on those things where like they go up and down. You know when there's like a tall building and the window wipers go on those devices that you can go up and down so you can wipe the buildings and stuff. Yeah, so they go on that, and Annie's like freaked out, which I would be freaked out too. I'll get caught. I will get caught because I'm not going on that. But you know, call the police on me. I'm sorry. Like I couldn't do it. And I'm afraid of heights. No. But yeah, so they go on there. Well, it's this big scene where Eduardo is trying to move them away from the window so they don't get caught. So the girls are going down, and they're going down fast, and they stop. There's another window, and it's a mess. So they're falling down on the device, and they're like, stop, 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 stop. So it finally stops, and you know, they don't. So that's good. They're alive still. The girls hear about an upcoming auction. So Elise, Brenda, and Annie, they go to the auction, and they tell Gunelia to bring Shelly and Eduardo to the auction. So they're there. She buys an expensive Japanese plate, a couch, a Lamborghini, and a carpet. And, Morty's upset, but then, Shelly does something and then it works out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Brenda and Annie, and they go to visit Elise. And Elise is drinking. She's just upset about Ben or Bill because, she didn't get as much as revenge as she's getting from the other girls. So she just feels like there needs to be more. She calls Brenda and Annie basic because of all this. And she's just being rude. So Brenda gets upset. She calls Elise out for being a drunk. And Brenda and Elise start fighting. And then they start to drag Annie in it. And Annie, she's always just the one in the back. Like, she just really doesn't want to be involved. But they start yelling. And Annie is like, I'm just not in it. Like, I'm just the peacemaker. And they're laughing at her. And then they all just start slapping each other. It's a whole thing. Annie gets upset and she's like, I'm done with this. So she leaves the house. Brenda leaves the house and Elise is alone. Annie gets home and she starts venting to her mom and her daughter about how the First Wives Club is over and, it's just a mess and I'm tired of it. And then we see Elise. She finally sobers up and she realized what she did. She goes to talk to Brenda. She apologizes and cries and says she doesn't want to be like Cynthia. Then the next day we see Annie and she's starting to pack because she's done with the situation. But then Elise and Brenda come in and they convince her to stay because they realize that what they were doing, getting revenge is nice, but helping people is nicer. So they say that they're going to change and that they want to go global to help people, but still get their revenge. They all make up. We then see Elise talking to Bill's new girlfriend to get dirt on him. The girlfriend thinks that she is going to be working with Elise in a movie. The whole mother thing. So we then see Morty. He's filming a commercial with Shelly. And while he's filming the commercial, two guys come in. They're cops. So he gets arrested during the commercial. And the commercial is hilarious because Shelly is just awful. Then we see an alleyway. They take him out of the car and they put a bag over his head and then throw him in the trunk. We then see Chris. So Chris, during this whole time, she went and asked her father to work as a receptionist at his job so she can get close. She is working as a receptionist at the job and she tells her dad once he comes in that he has a meeting. So the dad, Aaron, he walks in and he sees Annie and two men talking about business. So he's confused. We then see Elise. Elise walks into Bill's office and he wants to talk. And then we see Brenda again and Uncle Kyle. We see that they're in a meat container and Morty is tied up in a chair. Brenda starts showing Morty that she has proof of him doing some illegal activity. We then go back to Aaron. He's confused. Why is she there? And she tells him that she bought those two out of the company and she is has a higher, stake than him. So then we go back to Brenda. Brenda tells Morty either he pays her or the info that she got, the illegal activity, will go to the authorities. Brenda also will get control of everything. Morty's electronics, that's his business, the advertising, the marketing, while Morty will stay as the president since it's Morty's electronics. She wants to keep him as president because it makes sense that he would still be there because he's Morty. During the conversation with Annie and Aaron, she brought up that she has a big deal with someone. Because Brenda has all the profits, all the access to Morty's business, Brenda helps Annie, which is the 40 billion account that she was talking to with Aaron. Because she's like, well, if you take people, we'll still be good. So then we see Elise. And she's talking to Bill. And it's not good for Bill because she tells him that his girlfriend is 16. Yeah. Yeah, let's pause on that. Bill, he had no idea. But still, his girlfriend is 16. She did fib about her age, but she was 16. Okay. So she uses this info to blackmail him so she can keep everything. Then we see all of them after they tell them that, you know, basically everything is mine. Because Brenda has full control of the company, Annie has full control of Aaron's company, and Bill is getting nothing in the divorce. So they all give their ex-husbands cards and they say, hey, go to this address and we'll talk about this at this time. So they give them the cards. Bill, Aaron, and Morty all waiting in the First Wives Club's vacancy. So they're sitting there in their chairs and Chris, the daughter, calls them and says, like, the women are ready for you. Morty and Bill, they walk in first, and Erin goes to talk to Chris, and she's like, hey daughter, you know, trying to be manipulative. Hey daughter, you know, I just really want to know what's going on, you know, just let me know, you know, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. You'll find out when you get in there. And then she tells him that she is a lesbian, and he's shocked. Because during this whole movie, she was trying to find a way to, like, tell her father that she was a lesbian to, like, you know, shock him and I guess disappoint him? I don't know. But she wanted to see his face when she told him that. And she does, and she's, like, really happy that he's shocked. So he walks in and they all sit down. They start talking. The women tell the men that, like, this started as revenge for you guys, but it turned into something more, and now we want to help women get justice for being abandoned and not having anywhere to go or not having anything because the men take everything. So they say that you will be paying money, you will be paying us, or the information that we have will be leaked out. And yeah, so they start paying. We see a montage of all the men paying the women with checks, and Bill is just sad. He is just a mess. He's crying. It's funny. We then see Elise in a play, and she does her whole performance. It's amazing. People love it. Standing ovation. Wait for her. We then see Brenda, you know, she became rich, and we see Annie becoming a confident boss, you know, and just taking control. They make a crisis center for women who are in need of help, and they honor the center to Cynthia. Then opening night happens. It's huge. Annie, Chris, and the mother are celebrating about what's happening, and, you know, the mother tells Annie, like, hey, you know, you guys don't need to get back together. Like, I accept what you're doing and you're doing a great job. So that was great for the mother growth. Morty goes up to Brenda and apologizes after a huge fight with Shelly. So she's in the Lambo just chewing on her gum, you know, being bratty. Brenda and Morty, they dance together. We hear that Elise has moved on from Bill and she is dating someone else, so she's happy. Annie, her ex-husband Aaron, comes up to her and he was like, I've learned my lesson and I care about you and I want to be with you, blah, 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 blah. Trying to manipulate her again. But Annie was like, no, I'm good alone. So she's alone and successful, and that is great for her because she is happy. The event ends. Annie, Brenda, Elise, they're celebrating together. They bring up the whole thing about being a girl group. So they sing the song, You Don't Own Me. It's not huge, but it's like, it's entertaining. So they start dancing. You don't. And they walk out dancing, and they dance into the street with their white outfits. And that's how the movie ends. I love this movie. This movie is so great. It's so entertaining. I like how they talk about the LGBT community, and it wasn't like they were the butt of the joke, because a lot of the times it's happening, but it wasn't that. I mean, I think it was like a little bit of a joke, maybe a little, but I don't know. It felt very wholesome and like not judgy. I like that. I just really think it's an entertaining story. The whole situation with Bill, like, jail. I mean, I know he didn't know, but still jail. Like, ugh. But yeah, I just think that this movie is so entertaining and fun. And I've literally watched it so many times. So if you just want a fun, entertaining, semi-emotional movie, then watch it. You don't own me. So catchy. I love the ending when they're in their white suits and they grab their jackets and they just start dancing out. Da, 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 da. It's just so fun. That is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed. Everybody needs to check this out. It's on Hulu. Watch it because it's hilarious and it's fun. Have a great day. And I will see you guys when I see you. Goodbye. Da, da, da. That's why you don't mess with the women, 'cause they will get revenge. And you will end up with nothing. You better get your act together, or they will take everything from you. Get your act together, or they will take everything from you. Don't mess with the women. Don't mess with the women. The First Wives Club, 'cause they will get you in a split